Hello and welcome to Oil for the Journey. I'm your journey reader, Faith Mona, and today's reading is taken from the book of Genesis, chapters 20, 21, and 22. Our scheduled reading follows the Bridges for Peace, Ignite the Truth Bible reading plan. So let's begin. Genesis chapter 20. Abraham traveled from there south to the Negev and settled down between Kadesh and Shur. While he was camping in Gerar, Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She's my sister." So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. But God came to Abimelech in a dream that night and told him, "You're as good as dead. That woman you took, she's a married woman." Now Abimelech had not yet slept with her, hadn't so much as touched her. He said, "Master, would you kill an innocent man? Didn't he tell me she's my sister? And didn't she herself say he's my brother? I had no idea I was doing anything wrong when I did this." God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know your intentions were pure. That's why I kept you from sinning against me. I was the one who kept you from going to bed with her. So now give the man's wife back to him. He's a prophet and will pray for you. Pray for your life. If you don't give her back, now that it's certain death, both for you and everyone in your family." Abimelech was up first thing in the morning. He called all his house servants together and told them the whole story. They were shocked. Then Abimelech called in Abraham and said, "What have you done to us? What have I ever done to you that you would bring on me and my kingdom this huge offense? What you've done to me ought never to have been done." Abimelech went on to Abraham, "Whatever were you thinking of when you did this thing?" Abraham said, "I just assumed that there was no fear of God in this place and that they'd kill me to get my wife. Besides, the truth is that she is my half-sister. She's my father's daughter, but not my mother's. When God sent me out as a wanderer from my father's home, I told her, 'Do me a favor. Wherever we go, tell people that I'm your brother.'" Then Abimelech gave Sarah back to Abraham, and along with her sent sheep and cattle and servants, both male and female. He said, "My land is open to you. Live wherever you wish." And to Sarah he said, "I've given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. That clears you of even a shadow of suspicion before the eyes of the world. You're vindicated." Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his maidservants, and they started having babies again. For God had shut down every womb in Abimelech's household on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter 21. Genesis chapter 21. God visited Sarah exactly as he said he would. God did to Sarah what he promised. Sarah became pregnant and gave Abraham a son in his old age, and at that very time God had set. Abraham named him Isaac. When his son was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, just as God had commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Sarah said, "God has blessed me with laughter, and all who get the news will laugh with me." She also said, "Whoever would have suggested to Abraham that Sarah would one day nurse a baby? Yet here I am. I've given the old man a son." The baby grew and was weaned. Abraham threw a big party on the day Isaac was weaned. One day, Sarah saw the son that Hagar, the Egyptian, had borne to Abraham, poking fun at her son Isaac. She told Abraham, "Get rid of this slave woman and her son. No child of this slave is going to share inheritance with my son Isaac." The matter gave great pain to Abraham. After all, Ishmael was his son. But God spoke to Abraham, "Don't feel badly about the boy and your maid. Do whatever Sarah tells you. Your descendants will come through Isaac. Regarding your maid's son, be assured that I'll also develop a great nation from him. He's your son too." Abraham got up early the next morning, got some food together and a canteen of water for Hagar, put them on her back, and sent her away with the child. She wandered off into the desert of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she left the child under a shrub and went off 50 yards or so. She said, "I can't watch my son die." As she sat, she broke into sobs. Meanwhile, God heard the boy crying. The angel of God called from heaven to Hagar, "What's wrong, Hagar? Don't be afraid." God has heard the boy and knows the fix he's in. Up now, go get the boy. Hold him tight. I'm going to make him a great nation. Just then, God opened her eyes. She looked. She saw a well of water. She went to it and filled her canteen and gave the boy a long, cool drink. God was on the boy's side as he grew up. He lived out in the desert and became a skilled archer. He lived in the Paran wilderness, and his mother got him a wife from Egypt. At about the same time, Abimelech and the captain of his troops, Phicol, spoke to Abraham, "No matter what you do, God is on your side. So swear to me that you won't do anything underhanded to me or any of my family. For as long as you live here, swear that you'll treat me and my land as well as I've treated you." Abraham said, "I swear it." At the same time, Abraham confronted Abimelech over the matter of a well of water that Abimelech's servant had taken. Abimelech said, "I have no idea who did this. You never told me about this. This is the first I've heard of it." So the two of them made a covenant. Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech. Abraham set aside 7 sheep from his flock. Abimelech said, "What does this mean? These 7 sheep you set aside." Abraham said, "It means that when you accept these 7 sheep and take it as proof that I dug this well, that it's my well." That's how the place got named Beersheba, the oath well, because the two of them swore a covenant oath there. After they had made the covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech and his commander, Phicol, I believe I pronounced the name right, Phicol, left and went back to the Philistine territory. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and worshiped God there, praying to the eternal God. Abraham lived in Philistine country for a long time. Chapter 22 of Genesis. After all this, God tested Abraham. God said, "Abraham." "Yes," answered Abraham, "I'm listening." He said, "Take your dear son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I'll point out to you." Abraham got up early in the morning and saddled his donkey. He took 2 of his young servants and his son Isaac. He had split wood for the burnt offering. He set out for the place God had directed him. On the third day he looked up, and he saw the place in the distance. Abraham told his 2 young servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I are going over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you." Abraham took the wood from the burnt offering and gave it to Isaac his son to carry. He carried the flint and the knife. The 2 of them went off together. Isaac said to Abraham his father, "Father?" "Yes, my son." "We have flint and wood, but where's the sheep for the burnt offering?" Abraham said, "Son, God will see to it that there's a sheep for the burnt offering." And they kept on walking together. They arrived at the place to which God had directed him. Abraham built an altar. He laid out the wood. Then he tied up Isaac and laid him on the wood. Abraham reached out and took the knife to kill his son. Just then an angel of God called to him out of heaven, "Abraham, Abraham!" "Yes, I'm listening." "Don't lay a hand on that boy. Don't touch him. Now I know how fearlessly you fear God. You didn't hesitate to place your son, your dear son, on the altar for me." Abraham looked up. He saw a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. Abraham named that place God-Yireh, God sees to it. That's where we get the saying, on the mountain of God, he sees to it. The angel of God spoke from heaven a second time to Abraham, "I swear God's sure word, because you have gone through with this and have not refused to give me your son, your dear, dear son, I'll bless you. Oh, how I'll bless you. And I'll make sure that your children flourish like stars in the sky, like sand on the beaches, and your descendants will defeat their enemies. All nations on earth will find themselves blessed through your descendants because you obeyed me." Then Abraham went back to his young servants. They got things together and returned to Beersheba. Abraham settled down in Beersheba. After all this, Abraham got the news, "Your brother Nahor is a father. Milcah has given him children, Uz, his firstborn, his brother Buz, Kemuel. He was the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Fildash, Jildaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel was the father of Rebekah. Milcah gave these 8 sons to Nahor, Abraham's brother. His concubine, Reumah, gave him 4 more children, Tebah, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. May God have a blessing to the reading of his word. And I hope the reading on today was a blessing to you all, that God is with us even through our toughest times, and that you will trust him and obey him. May God bless you all and have a happy, happy New Year.